so sorry, friends. That was an important call that I needed to take, but I am back. So sorry about that interruption. So Charlotte said men can't build webs, and the bridges that they build do not catch flies. She said they just keep trotting back and forth across the bridge, thinking there's something better on the other side. If they would just hang head down at the top of the thing and wait quietly, maybe something good would come along. But no, with men, it's rush, 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 rush every minute. I'm glad I'm just a sedentary spider. What does sedentary mean? Asked Wilbur. Means I sit still for a good part of the time and don't go wandering all over creation. I know a good thing when I see it, and my web is a good thing. I stay put and I wait for what comes. Give me a chance to think. Well, I'm kind of sedentary myself, I guess, said the pig. I have to hang around here whether I want to or not. You know where I'd really rather be this evening? Where? Said Charlotte. In a forest, looking for beech nuts and truffles and delectable roots, pushing leaves aside with my wonderfully strong nose, sniffing and searching along the ground, smelling, smelling, smelling. You smell just the way you are, remarked a lamb who had just walked in. I can smell you from here. You're the smelliest creature in the place, said the lamb. Is that nice? Not very nice. Wilbur hung his head. His eyes grew wet with tears. Charlotte noticed his embarrassment, and she spoke sharply to that lamb. Let Wilbur alone, she said. He has a perfect right to smell, considering his surroundings. You're no bundle of sweet peas yourself. Furthermore, you are interrupting a very pleasant conversation. What were we talking about, Wilbur, when we were so rudely interrupted? Oh, I don't remember, said Wilbur. It doesn't even really matter anymore. Let's not talk anymore for a while, Charlotte. I'm getting sleepy. You go ahead and finish fixing your web, and I'll just lie here and watch you. It's a lovely evening. Wilbur stretched out on his side. Meanwhile, twilight settled over Zuckerman's barn, and a feeling of peace came along with it. Fern knew it was almost supper time, but she couldn't bear to leave. Swallows passed on silent wings in and out of the doorways, bringing food to the young ones. From across the road, a bird sang, whippoorwill, whippoorwill. Lurvy sat down under an apple tree and lit his pipe. The animal sniffed the familiar smell of strong tobacco. Wilbur heard the trill of the tree toad and the occasional slamming of the kitchen door. All these sounds made him feel comfortable and happy, for he loved life and he loved to be a part of the world on a summer evening. But as he lay there, he remembered what the old sheep had told him. The thought of death came to him, and he began to tremble with fear. Charlotte, he said softly. Yes, Wilbur. I don't want to die. Of course you don't, said Charlotte in a comforting voice. I just love it here in the barn, said Wilbur. I love everything about this place. Of course you do, said Charlotte. We all do. The goose appeared, followed by her 7 goslings. They thrust their little necks out and kept up a musical whistling like a tiny troop of pipers. Wilbur listened to the sound with love in his heart. Charlotte, he said. Yes, said the spider. Were you serious when you promised you would keep them from killing me? I was never more serious in my life. I am not going to let you die, Wilbur. I was never more serious in my life, said Charlotte. But, Wilbur spoke up again, how? How are you going to save me? Wilbur was very curious and very strong on this point. Well, said Charlotte vaguely, I don't really know, but I'm working on a plan. That's wonderful, said Wilbur. How is the plan coming, Charlotte? Have you gotten very far with it? Is it coming along pretty well? Wilbur was trembling again. But Charlotte was cool and collected. "Oh, it's coming all right," she said lightly. "The plan is still in its early stages and hasn't completely shaped up yet, but I'm working on it." "When do you work on it?" begged Wilbur. "When I'm hanging upside down at the top of my web. That's when I do my best thinking, because then all the blood is in my head." "I'd only be too glad to help in any way that I can," said Wilbur. He really wanted to help Charlotte with this plan and really hoped for her plan to come through. "Oh, I'll work it out alone," said Charlotte. "I can think better if I think alone." "All right," said Wilbur. "But don't fail me, because if there's anything I can do to help, no matter how slight, please let me know." "Well," replied Charlotte, "you must try to build yourself up. I want you to get plenty of sleep and stop worrying. Never hurry and never worry. Chew your food thoroughly and eat every bite of it, except you must leave just enough for Templeton. Gain weight and stay well. That's the way you can help. Keep fit and don't lose your nerve. Do you think you understand?" "Yes, I understand," said Wilbur. "Go along to bed then," said Charlotte. "Sleep is important." Wilbur trotted over to the darkest corner of his pen and threw himself down. He closed his eyes, but in another moment he spoke. "Charlotte," he said. "Yes, Wilbur." "May I go out to my trough and see if I left any of my supper? I think I might just have left a little bit of mashed potatoes." "Very well," said Charlotte, "but I want you in bed again without delay." Wilbur started to race across the yard. "Slowly, slowly," said Charlotte. "Never hurry and never worry." Wilbur checked himself and crept slowly to his trough. He found a little bit of potato, chewed it carefully, swallowed it, and walked back to bed. He closed his eyes and was silent for a while. "Charlotte," he said in a whisper. "Yes." "May I get a drink of milk? I think there are a few drops of milk left in my trough." "No, dear Wilbur, the trough is dry, and I want you to go to sleep. No more talking. Close your eyes and go to sleep." Wilbur shut his eyes. Fern got up from her stool and started for home, her mind full of everything she had seen and heard. "Good night, Charlotte," said Wilbur. "Good night, Wilbur." There was a pause. "Good night, Charlotte." "Good night, Wilbur." "Good night." "Good night." And that takes us to the end of chapter 9. I'm so sorry for the interruptions this evening. Our next chapter is 10, and it is called Explosion. An explosion. And let's take a peek. We see Charlotte in her web. And I'm thinking back to what we've heard in the past with the goose and the dud of an egg. I wonder what might explode. We will find out next time on chapter 10. And I just want to say a special note to Chelsea. I hope that you, Chelsea, and all of our friends out there enjoyed this chapter of Charlotte's Web. And as Charlotte says, it's time, Wilbur, to close your eyes, go to sleep, stop thinking about the world, and have a nice rest. Until next time, mwah. I will see you soon, friends. Goodbye.